Inside the 12th episode of Outsourcing Live, it's me live on a questions and answers call where I'll be taking questions from students inside my Mass Outsource Mastermind coaching course. Some of the questions I answer are about how to let go and trust virtual assistants, how to train them, and how to manage them, plus much more. Also, inside the quick tip, I share with you a free service that allows you to drag and drop thousands of files and share with your virtual staff very easily. Let's roll into it.
Welcome to the Outsourcing Live podcast, where you will learn to build a virtual team to run your business. And now, your host, Tyrone Shum.
Hi everyone, it's Tyrone Shum from Outsourcing Live, and welcome to the next podcast that I've got here. Today's a little bit different. I like to be able to talk a little bit more about answering some questions in regards to outsourcing. I've actually got a list of questions here that I've been receiving directly from people. And what I wanted to do today is to just be able to answer these questions for you in regards to outsourcing, because there's a lot of things that people really struggle with when they first start to outsource and also when they are currently outsourcing as well. So it's a good opportunity for me to be able to go through and just step by step answer these questions. In addition as well too, I've also got some Mass Outsource Mastermind member questions as well too from my mastermind course. So I'll be more than happy to today to open up the lines as well to be able to answer them. So this call is currently being recorded live. And if you do have any questions like that for all the members that are currently on this call as well, that you'll be able to also raise your hand during that time and be able to ask me. So let me just delve straight into it and answer a few of these questions that I've got in front of me. And a lot of these questions were sent to me directly via email asking me specifically about how to do outsourcing. So the first question comes from a person here who's written, as a beginner in this area, I would love to have my hand held, e.g. have a checklist of tasks and duties that will be required to do, but maintain and grow my online business. I'm good in my field, but the tech side gets overwhelming, such as a list would give me a guide that I can develop specifically for me. I loved such a shortcut. For me, it's not being able to see the measured progress and double the time you have to put during the training phase as well. So what I might do is just firstly answer this question about providing a checklist and also the technical side of things. Specifically, it's a bit hard to be able to say exactly step by step what to do for an online business because everybody's business may be different. But essentially, there are some basic fundamentals in terms of putting a checklist together to be able to help you with outsourcing. And I'm going to talk specifics this time because it's a lot easier to be able to relate to people and also be able to show exactly what to do. For example, if you're deciding to build a website, no doubt if you're running an online business, it's a pretty strong requirement that you do have a website. When you first have that website set up, you've got to be able to find the right people to be able to set that up for you. I mean, you could spend all your time setting all this up yourself, but I highly recommend outsourcing it, and this is what I assume that you're currently doing. So let's just start maybe with a few pointers then to talk about how to go about giving a checklist to the person that you're hiring, and also what type of person you need to look at. And the first person I highly recommend you look at hiring is a programmer for this type of technical stuff. And if you're looking to, say, set up a system such as a website using WordPress, which is a very popular system, and that's something that I highly recommend you use, and it's the most easiest and widely available to implement, hire someone with experience with PHP programming experience and also WordPress experience. And that would make a huge difference in terms of getting the material out there to them and making sure that they can actually understand, because most people who have WordPress experience or PHP experience can create the website for you. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, once you've got that person in place, then really giving them the training and the skills to be able to do that is the requirement. Most of the time, if they've already got WordPress experience and PHP experience, the skill set's there. You don't really need to train them very much, but it's really giving them the instructions that you need. And more than likely, as a person who's actually looking to hire, say, a programmer, you'd be the one without much technical experience, and which is the reason why you hire them. So what you want to be able to do is to say, okay, these are the things that I want to do, and it's mostly firstly the design part, and then secondly it'd be the back-end installation part. And most of the time you probably want to be able to firstly get them to have a look at what kind of design you want in place. So I would just from my experience, what I've done in the past is I've gone to various different websites to have a look. And most likely, if you can just type in like Google, for example, to be able to type in, say, WordPress or free WordPress themes, you most likely get a whole stack of them that come up. I usually go to the first 2 or 3 options there, have a look at it, and choose some themes that I like. And if there's some themes that I like, what I'll do is I'll save it down on my desktop, or basically just take a print screen, like screen capture that, and save it on desktop. And then from there, what I will do is there's 2 options you can do it this way. The way is to get a little software which can point arrows and draw on that piece of or that picture that you like, or that theme that you like. Or you can run a software called Jing, which is the screen capture software. And if you've got like a pen tablet like I do, which the one that I'm currently using is called the Wacom Bamboo tablet, you can pretty much just draw on that theme and show them exactly where you want these things to go, such as the logo, what colors you want, what things you like, and so forth. So that's what I would probably first approach, is to be able to go out onto the internet, find exactly what kind of theme and style you like. Maybe take 2 or 3 different styles and different themes, and then just mark on them exactly what colors you like, what styles you like, the layout you like, where do you want to put your logos, where do you want to put your banners, all those kind of things. And it's just best that you do put those things in there first. And once you've done that, then it makes it a lot easier to be able to explain and describe that to your programmer. Also too, the other thing as well is, once you've got that in place, then it's just a matter of sending this information off to them. And a lot of times people usually just do it via email and just send it back and forth. I would recommend, if you can, set up a project management system to be able to help them manage this and to put this in place. And this would make putting your checklist together a lot more easier. So a project management system I recommend is Basecamp HQ, and also too, if you want to be able to set up a free account, you can set it up there as well on Basecamp HQ. So set that up there. Once you've got Basecamp HQ set up, then what you want to do is firstly create a milestone in there, and also a to-do checklist. And this is where the checklist comes into place, because the great thing about Basecamp is it allows you to be able to set these simple step-by-step checklists in place. And the first checklist you might want to set up, or first milestone you want to probably set up, is basically the name of your project. And you might be getting this person to design and also create your WordPress site. So you might say design and create WordPress site version 1. And then within the to-do list, you want to be able to lay out exactly what needs to be done first. The first one probably be design of the website based on the 3 themes. And you can send those 3 theme designs to them via the project management system, such as Basecamp. And then after that, the next part you probably want to be able to put in there is to install WordPress. Once you've got the WordPress set up, then you want to be able to find the right plugins to be able to set up. And then from there, you want to be able to set up and get them to apply that theme. But those are some simple and basic checklists that you want them to do and to follow. And I mean, it's not very many processes, but the thing is, you can break these down and just describe it to your project or your programmer to be able to implement this. And make sure you do set timelines and dates in between those checklists. And once you've got those checklists set up, make sure that they do follow that schedule. Now, after they've completed a task, make sure that they go in and tick it and make sure that it's been completed. Otherwise, you don't know if the task has been completed or not. And I think that's probably the easiest and the quickest way to do it. I will probably go and look on the internet for you to try and see if I can find a little checklist of items for you to do in terms of programming and creating an online business. But that will take a little bit of time. And if I can, I'll put it down on the post of this podcast as well too for you. Now, what I like to do is, at the same time, I'm going to open up actually the line to another question that I've got here from one of my students, Mervyn. So let me just open up the line here for Mervyn, and I'd like to take his call here. So, okay. Hi, Mervyn. Yeah. Very good, very good. And yourself? Excellent. Okay, I see your question here. Did you want to actually ask me that question, and I'll see if I can assist you with answering it?
Oh, hi Tyrone, how are you doing? I'm doing well. So
Okay.
I was hoping, like I've had my content writers, they're both from the Philippines, um, writing now for about 3 months, and I'm spending a lot of time going back over every article and correcting their grammar to make it sound correct for the North American reader. And what I've asked them to do is
That's a
basically,
good
after I've
That's a good question.
corrected everything and
I
posted
think maybe
it, for them
also
to go back,
too
read it
for
again,
them
and
they
read it
may
out
need to
loud,
just
get
probably
a
watch
sense
a
of
little bit more of
how
American
to
TV
set
to
up
be
their
able to pick that
grammatical
up,
structure.
because
But
I think that's how a lot of
things
us
aren't really
pick
changing. I
up
don't know if you have
a
any
lot of
advice on
the way the
how
Americans are.
how I
I
can
think
help
that they
them
probably may need to
basically
just
write better. I don't know,
either listen to more
or write more
podcasts
correctly.
or to watch a little bit more American type style TV. I know that there is a very good blog out there which is called Copy Blogger, by Brian Clark. He has some really, really good tips on that in terms of improving copywriting and also improving writing articles. That may be a resource that you could recommend them take a look at, and from there they could probably just read that up and find out more. In my personal opinion, if it makes sense, I wouldn't worry so much to make it almost perfect. But I mean, at the moment, when you're reading these articles, does it make sense to you?
Okay.
Okay. Have you got an example there? Maybe we could probably run through it and see if that might help. Okay. Well, if you don't have any there, yeah.
Yes, it
And the
does make
structure.
sense. Like it makes
Okay.
sense.
Well,
It's just
if it's not there, that's okay.
the way
Maybe
you
send it
read
to
it
me
is a
by
bit
email a little
awkward,
bit later, and I
sometimes.
could check it out, and I'll possibly get Joanna to have a look at it and maybe find out from her how she improves her
Oh
grammar as
boy.
well, and that way I could recommend what to do.
In front of me, I'd have to pull
Because
something up.
usually, if
Um,
it's either they do
yeah,
have
it's just
the grammar,
it's just sentence
and they
structure.
understand how to write it in
No,
English
it's
really well, which is
yeah.
what their skill set should be. And sometimes it just might need a little bit of coaching, but until I guess we see what the article looks like, it's really very difficult to say. It's definitely just a slight change. I found that in the
Okay.
past when we've had articles written, sometimes I do go back in there to change it to the way I like it and the way I style it. But 95% of the time, the articles are sufficient enough to put out into the market, into article directories. I'm assuming that's what you're doing for these articles, is to submit them out to different directories and different blogs. Is that right? Mm.
Yeah.
Yep, of course. No. As long as the original article
Well, what I'm doing is
you're happy with,
well, I don't have
then
time
I
to
guess
go
at the end
over
of
all
the
those
day,
fun articles,
to
but
really get them out there
what
as
I'm doing
quick as
is just the
possible.
original
I mean, to be
article
honest,
that gets
I
posted to the
nowadays
to
don't
the
read
home
very much
site.
of what Joanna
That
puts
those
out
are
there,
the
to be
ones,
honest.
and
But
I'm kind
when
of
I do
trusting
read
them
it,
to
I'm
spin
pretty
the other ones
satisfied
out
with it.
to
There
the
may be
article
some
directors. I don't have
slight
time to go
little bit
read
of
the
grammatical errors,
19
but
iterations
it's
of the
not that
original
much that's going
article.
to
So
harm to the point, because I think at the end of the day, as long as the message gets across, the content, depending on which niche market you're in, 95% is better than not having anything out there. So I would probably have a look firstly, maybe sending some of the content over, and I'll get Joanna to have a look at it for you and maybe give some tips or pointers on how they could relate to each other, since they're both Filipino, and then maybe from there see if that can help you improve. But I mean, at least you've got someone who's writing content. Is it good content that you're finding, or is it's okay? Okay. Well, there's a
it's a little hit and miss.
okay.
Like
There's a
I'm
good
finding
site
also that I'm having to
probably
feed
recommend one
them
to get some articles
like the
that are written
topics
really,
instead
really
of them
well by
taking the
Americans.
initiative and finding the
You might want to
topic. Like
try
I'm
this out.
having to
It's
actually
called
supply
Article Z,
what they
which
need
is
to
Z
write about
for
next. And if I
the
don't do
article,
that, then they go back to
z.com.
some of the old content and try
And
to rewrite it
we've
again.
used this site before in the past to be able to just get
And
some
so,
content
yeah,
written,
so
and they're
it's a
all
bit,
mostly
you know,
American writers
they
there.
surprise me.
Maybe you might want to consider trying that as well. And you know, it's pretty affordable to be able to do. It's not going to cost you a lot of money to be able to do, and just give that a shot first, and see if that works out to be more effective for you. Because if you're saying that the time that's spent looking and reviewing the articles and getting these articles written and taking a lot more time than it should, then you might want to see if you can find another source such as Article Z to be able to write some articles for you. So yeah, give that a shot. And yeah, if that doesn't work, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to try and be able to assist you with that and make some changes from there and give you some more advice. Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for that, Mervyn. I'm going to move on to the next question. And if you do have any other further questions, feel free just to raise your hand. I'll be more than happy to answer it for you. Great. Thank you. Okay. So that question was answered for Mervyn. I've got another question from another person that's emailed me. And the next question here is, finding the right people you can trust. One people think stereotypically that outsourcing implies cheap prices and low quality or standard. Another reason for frustration is that there is so much choice and options that one simply doesn't know which is reliable or how to start. That's a really good question there. The question really comes back down to is trust, or the point here, I guess, comes back down to trust. And a lot of people, firstly, are not 100% willing to let go. I know as entrepreneurs, even for myself, I sometimes find a struggle to be able to let go of any of the work that I do. But you have to learn to trust people when you do hire them, because at the end of the day, you are going to be paying these people to work for you full time, and also you are getting them on board to be able to take over some of the work that you shouldn't be doing all the time yourself. And I think the first thing is to really trust someone is to give them something that you might find quite challenging to do. And if they can prove to you that they do the work correctly at the beginning, then obviously there's some form of trust that's been built. And yes, I know that at the beginning, it's very difficult to know until they've actually done something. But I guess once you've interviewed them, seen them via Skype, had a talk with them, and seen what their skill sets are, by just reviewing their resume, and you have that right feeling, it all comes back down to your own intuition, knowing whether or not this person's right for you. And if they are right and you start them working for you, then obviously the first thing to do is to start giving them some work to be able to just trial it out for a month to be able to see how they work with you, whether or not you feel comfortable to work with them. And that's how you really build up the trust. Trust is something that takes time to build, and it won't happen instantly. And I think everyone probably sort of has expectations, but sometimes it's just a matter of dropping those expectations and just taking that leap of faith to trust that people are going to be able to complete. Because at the end of the day, their goal is to be able to find a job so that they can be happy in, but also too at the same time to be able to get some work done, or get work done correctly and promptly for the person that they're working for. So, you know, it's a two-way relationship. You've got to be able to let go, and at the same time, they've got to be able to provide that they can do the work correctly. Now, there's a good point that you've raised up here, saying about stereotypically that outsourcing implies cheap prices and low quality or standard. In my opinion, yes, it is lower cost to be able to hire and outsource, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the quality will be sacrificed. And the reason why I know that is because the team that I work with, they are paid accordingly to what is comparable in their own country. So let's just take, for example, if I was here in Australia working as a programmer, I would roughly be looking to make about, say, $90,000 to $100,000 a year in Australian dollars. But over there, their equivalent is roughly that in their dollars. But once you divide it by that, it's only actually a fraction of the cost of what it is here. And that's just because of the economy and also of the exchange rates. So in actual fact, when you look at it that way, in that perspective, they're actually getting paid for what they're worth. And therefore, it's not low cost to them. They're actually getting paid quite well. But to us, it looks low cost because of the exchange rate. So you have to take that into consideration. Second thing as well too is that the quality and the standard, that can also be a stereotypical impression, but in my opinion is if you do find that right person who's dedicated, who's loyal and also honest with their work, they're going to perform really well. And I know that if you look after them, provide them with training, support them with whatever they do, they're going to do probably even better than a lot of people who I've worked with in the past locally. So the quality of work, I don't think will probably drop down at all. I think they'll probably be even better a lot of times than most people locally. And that's just because that they're hardworking over there, and the people I'm talking about specifically are Filipinos. So that's something that I think is probably a myth, and I think that's just the stereotypical type that people think of. So it's just to eliminate that thought and that mind. And also you mentioned there's a frustration that there's so much choice and options out there that simply doesn't know which is reliable or how to start. Well, to make it easy for people, what I would usually do is go through some kind of virtual assistant agency where they do find the staff for you and do all the filtering process. That would, one, firstly save you time, and two, it would save you a lot of frustrations up front because, as you said, there's too much choice and options. What they would usually do is either come back to you with, say, 3 different candidates that you can choose from, and from those 3, you can narrow down to the top one that you want to choose. And that way it should save you a lot of time. I mean, if you want to go the route of finding the people directly yourself, yes, you're probably going to have to sift through a couple of hundred people, but that may take you time. If you do have that time, that's fine. But if you don't, which is the reason why we outsource, then I'd highly recommend going through a virtual staff finding service, which I recommend as well inside our course. And you can find out the links of it down below in this video as well, down the track. All right, so that's that question there. Another question I want to be able to answer here is this one here that's they're asking is, finding qualified employees, or better explained, having a pre-screen employees are hard to find loyal, faithful people willing to work on time. Finding quality employees, there are so many bad ones. I see several main problems, if I may. Now, obviously, some of these questions are not written very well, and I totally understand why, because I think some people here are just starting to outsource. But what I wanted to, I guess, emphasize is that it comes back down to trust again. And he's also written here, the several main problems that they face is initially finding the right people, keeping track of times worked, and that they really work those hours, training and communication on distance, and keeping them on task and on schedule. All right, so I sort of have answered initially finding the right people, which is the first part, and I wanted to just reiterate that about that before. So as I said, mentioned to you, try to find someone through the virtual staff finding service, and that way it should cut down a lot of your time and also less time involved in having to find the people. Now, this point here that you've raised up, keeping track of times worked and that they really work those hours, is a good point, because I think a lot of people are worried. Once you hire someone full-time or part-time, or even if you get them on contracting, you don't know if they're doing the work unless they deliver something. And a lot of times I go by now the point or the results-based approach. The results-based approach is really, don't worry too much about how much time they're putting into it. They could be working 8 hours, could be working 10 hours, could be working 4 hours. But the main thing is, if they have the right skill set for that job that you're hiring them for, and they are delivering on time and on schedule, then I go by that, because at the end of the day, we just want to see results. We want to see if the task is completed. We want to make sure that things are delivered on time, and it's also done at the best of their abilities and at the right way as well. So the results-based approach is important, but if you are concerned about whether or not they're doing the work and working certain hours, you could use software to be able to track them. And a software I've recommended in the past, there's actually 2 that I've recommended, is firstly Rescue Time, and that tracks really their productivity and also how many hours and what hours of the day they're working. And you can set that up with a free account there at rescuetime.com. There's another one that I've recommended as well in the past called Time Doctor. And Time Doctor tracks also to the times that they've worked, where they've logged into, and so forth. Now, I'm not 100% sure if Time Doctor is free anymore, but when I first trialed it out before and used it, it was free. But you can check it out at timedoctor.com. Now, that allows you to be able to track how many hours they're working, what times of the day, what tasks they're doing, and so forth. And I would probably use these tools really just mainly to see what kind of productivity they're doing, what kind of activities are they doing during the day. And if they're obviously not spending their time working on your tasks and jumping onto Facebook or hopping onto social networks, chit-chatting to other people or Skype and so forth, then you need to address that issue. But the main thing is, what I've always done in the past is implement this type of strategy in the system. And with my employees, basically I put it up to them as being their own responsibility to take care of these tasks. Whether it takes them 10 hours to do, or whether it takes them 5 hours to do, it doesn't really matter to me. But the main thing is, as long as it's delivered on time and make sure that the results are delivered. And I have put in boundaries in place by putting these boundaries of, if the task is not completed properly or it's not even done, then basically there is either a financial loss to them, which means that I may delay the salary by the amount of time it takes to get it completed, or they may not get paid at all, for the work that they're doing. So they know that there are those boundaries in place. But on the other side, or the flip side of it, is if they do get their task completed and they are successful in completing their task earlier than expected, then I say to them, look, you can take that time off, spend time with your family. You can really take it as being a holiday during that time leading up to that task that you're supposed to get completed. So if it's 2 or 3 days earlier than expected and delivered on time, then I let them have that time off. And that encourages them to really, really work hard to be able to get the job done. And majority of the time, if you have set these jobs in place with the right schedule and you negotiate it with them properly and done that together with them, then they should be able to tell you a rough time estimate of how long it should take and trying to meet your demands and wants. So that hopefully sort of addresses the keeping track of times worked, because I think the approach should be a results-based approach first. Then if you are really concerned, then you can start to track their productivity and use that as being a productivity tool to just track what's going on. Now, the third thing that was mentioned here is we want to know training and communication via distance. Now, I assume that distance would mean virtual. And if you're in, say, the United States and this person, say, is in the Philippines, you're not sure how to be able to set up the training and how to communicate with them. I would recommend a couple of things. Firstly, make sure that you have your project management system set up and in place, because that will make the difference in terms of storing information and getting that information to them so that they can access. And inside the project management system, you can store all your training materials, you can store all your tasks, all your projects and all that. And that way it becomes all your central location for them to be able to access. Now, Dropbox is another tool that I've recommended and use all the time. And you can actually use Dropbox to be able to store all your documentations, all your training materials, all your videos and so forth on there for them to be able to access. And you can share that all amongst your team. Now, that's how I would recommend setting them up to be able to use for training. And you don't have to be sitting there physically with them, step by step, training them. To make it a lot easier is have the videos and training material all pre-created and recorded and stored there, and then get them to look through it at their own time during the day. So if you're in the States, most likely the people in the Philippines are probably working during the evenings while you're sleeping. And at the same time, while you're awake in your time, they're probably going to sleep. So you're going to have to manage that by basically having everything all pre-created and for them to review the training materials while you're in that time. Now, in terms of communication, as I mentioned, project management system is probably the easiest and the most quickest and efficient way. Now, if you do want to talk to them one-on-one on a regular basis, maybe on a weekly basis, just to see what's going on, Skype is probably the quickest way to do it. And just make sure that you do schedule in a time to meet with them. And the whole goal is to be able to take yourself away from the business, is to be able to let them manage and run it for you. And the whole thing is schedule in maybe an hour a week and say, look, these are the most important high crucial tasks. These are your responsibilities to be able to do, and let them take control and manage it for you. And that's really just a test of how you can allow for full automation. I mean, I'll give you an example. From last month when I was away getting married and spending time with our family, for the whole month of July, I was only involved in the business for about 12 hours. And, it might just raise the question and go, how did you do that? And the answer was that I gave full responsibility to every person in the business. Everybody had their own role and everybody knew exactly what they had to do. And there's still projects running without me. They just went ahead and got them all completed. And once it's all done, they basically just mark it off. And if it's met with schedule, with the times that we had set in place, then they just continue to do what they do. So the only way really sometimes I found in the past is just to either go on a holiday and just step away and let them manage that. But if you are just starting out, allow for 2 or 3 months for you to be able to train them up and just build that kind of relationship with them as well. All right. Next question is, let's have a look. Okay. I've got a really good, interesting one, and this question keeps getting raised up over and over again, and I guess it is trust, but I'll just read the question here. Firstly, it is what they're concerned about is the main frustration here is that, one, trust with outsourcing. So that's fine. We've discussed about that, and as you can see, the most really highlighted point that we've talked about today is trust. Second thing is geography, and geography is really about the distance, and he's got it here in brackets. They should be able to work while it's daytime at my end, at least a part of the team involved in development, which is fine, and I've talked about that just a moment ago. Accountability, which is the third thing. I know that there are tools like in Odesk and Elance where you can see live what's going on, but I have not used them, so I do not know how effective they really are. And we'll talk about that very soon. And cost, should be able to afford them. So these are the 4 things that were really the issues that he's been finding with outsourcing. And I have addressed really the first 2. I'm probably going to talk a little bit more in detail now about the third and the fourth, which is accountability. Accountability is, as I mentioned, you can use tools such as Rescue Time and Time Doctor to be able to keep track of what's going on. That's fine, and that works out really well, as I said. But as I said, go for a results-based approach. Now, keeping track of what they're doing is another issue. And what I would recommend to a lot of people is to ensure that they do have a daily accountability system that's in place. On a day-to-day basis, my team sends to me via email, just at the end of the day, of what tasks have been completed. And I'll actually pull up right now just to have a look or read out the questions that I asked them, so that way you can sort of see exactly what we asked. But there are 3 main components that we do discuss about all the time, or get them to send over to me, I should say, about the accountability side of things. And just loading this up right now to be able to find it for you. But the main thing is, the first question is, what tasks do they get completed on a daily basis? And inside that, they just lay out the day-to-day tasks that are going on. And if it's simple things such as just making sure that they've completed the answer supportive emails and so forth, then they write that all down. But basically get them to send all the information that were completed for the day, all the tasks that they were doing. And what will happen is that as well, they may put in brackets, as my virtual assistant does, is still ongoing or additional things happening, etc. Then the second question I make sure that they put in there is, are there any questions and concerns that they have? Now, those would probably relate to things that they don't understand, what things that we can help them with regards to training, things that they want to be able to ask about customers that are affecting the business and so forth. So the questions and concerns is like a second question for them to answer in a daily accountability. And then the third and final question that I get them to answer as well is to put in the feedback or recommendations to help improve the systems in the business. So I take them a little bit outside the square to go, okay, how can they help improve the business on a day-to-day basis or weekly basis or monthly basis? Because I've created a culture with my team that they do take full responsibility of each role and that they are part of a company to help them grow. I see that they have a vital role and a component in the business. And because of that, they do take responsibility and help put new systems and ideas in place. Like, for example, my virtual assistant, Joanna, she's recommended so many different things for the business already. And I wouldn't have been able to implement a lot of these things if I hadn't even heard it from her. And the other day, I think she was just discussing with me about implementing another smoother way to be able to run our webinars. And because of that feedback, we're going to be improving this as well for down the track. But she will go out there and take self-initiative to be able to find these things for us. And that makes a huge difference. And I really commend her for that. So, make sure that they fill that inside the daily accountability. and let them take some form of involvement in the business, because no doubt it will make a huge difference and also help out with the business to grow. It's time for the Outsourcing Live Quick Tip. Today's recommendation is called a little software called SugarSync, and it allows you to be able to synchronize files between your virtual staff and yourself. Now, if you've heard of a company or a tool called Dropbox, which I've reviewed in the past as well, which you can see on my site at outsourcinglive.com, SugarSync is very, very similar to that. And basically, if you have a folder that you can just set up on your computer, you can pretty much just drag and drop this files into this folder. Thousands and thousands of files that can be going to it, and what will happen is that SugarSync will automatically synchronize this folder with the rest of your virtual staff. So it makes it very easy to share files. No need having to upload a file, and then send out to your staff and say that file's up there now. All you have to do is just drag and drop the file, and within a few minutes, depending on how big the file, it'll get synchronized with the rest of the files that are on your other staff's computer. And it's really good because it actually provides you more space in comparison to Dropbox. I know with Dropbox, they provide you with a 2 GB of space for free, whereas SugarSync provides you with 5 GB. And the reason why I also signed up to this service, I have both Dropbox and SugarSync, is because I actually wanted a storage solution that can store all my video files. So because I've got all these larger video files, I didn't want to have to log into a different account to run Dropbox at the same time. And I didn't want to mix my video files with my Dropbox account where it has all my training and all the other files that go with it. So this solution, which was recommended to me by my virtual assistant, she said to me, try out SugarSync. So I tried it out and love it. And that's what I currently use with my video editor. Now, in terms of pricing, it's actually pretty good. As I said, 5 gigs for free for the first part of it. And if you want more storage space, you can get up to 30 gigs for around about $50 for a whole year. And that's pretty good value if you have a lot of files to want to synchronize or store particular video files. So if you want to actually see a little tutorial on it, I've actually created one on my site, and you can actually check it out at outsourcinglive.com/SugarSync, which is spelled SugarSync-tutorial. And I've got a video there showing you how to use that, what are the benefits of it, and so forth. Now, if you want to get access to it for a free one, to get your own free 5 GB of data on SugarSync, just simply go to outsourcinglive.com/SugarSync, and you'll be able to get it and access SugarSync for free, where you get 5 gigs, and you just sign up for a free account and you'll instantly be able to start using that. So that's SugarSync for you today. Check it out. Let me know what you think, and also good luck with it. Now, if you like more resources like this one, you can find them inside Mass Outsource Mastermind, along with video tutorials and step-by-step instructions showing exactly how I use them. To get a 30-day, no-risk trial membership to Mass Outsource Mastermind, simply visit freevideoset.com. Until next time, I wish you success in your quest for outsourcing.